All right. So another episode of the Allegheny Trail podcast coming at you today. We've got Colleen Krugovsky. Did I say that right, honey?
Krugovsky, but it's totally
Krugovsky from Pittsburgh, who's an Allegheny Trail lover. We're going to do an interview with her and her dogs. So why don't we just kick it off with a little introduction, Colleen? Tell us who you are and what made you come out to the trail.
Sure. Well, I'm Colleen. I turned 40 a year before I did the trail. And I also was making like a mid-career change. I'm a gynecologist and was changing jobs. And I had the chance to have a month off. So I decided to take a month-long hike, and it's very close.
Oh, nice. So have you been into backpacking for a long time? Family, did you grow up doing it or?
My brothers were Boy Scouts, but it definitely wasn't something I was a huge part of growing up, unfortunately. I mean, we had like a house in the Poconos. We would go to like a cabin, that sort of thing. But I've gotten into it more in medical school and residency when, honestly, financially, like to take a vacation, like what I could afford was a $25 tent from Walmart and like a $5 camping permit.
Totally. I get that. Nice.
Not backpacked until maybe my mid-30s. I went backpacking with an ex-boyfriend who took me on my first trip. And after that, I started collecting gear, and I got it in my head that I wanted to do a long trip. So I did my second trip ever with a friend, like a woman friend, actually a colleague who had gone backpacking before. And after that, the only time I'd ever backpacked was solo. And I just sort of packing on smaller, here's the littlest.
Well, why don't we do a dog introduction?
Well, this is my oldest. This is Pierre Presley Krugovsky. He'll be 5 in May. He's a Gemini. Pierre is a special little boy. He was born with a hole in his heart. And he was sort of left behind at a veterinarian's office in Tennessee. And then he made his way to Alabama and had open heart surgery with a student named Christina, who I will always think of as an angel. I was supposed to foster him after his surgery and help him heal. And that did not last long. And I kept him. But I love him.
What a great story.
He's my bionic boy. He also, I don't know if you can see, he doesn't have like a full lower jaw necessarily. And he was going to have to get all of his teeth removed. But he has like dental implants in the lower to keep his tongue in so he doesn't get dehydrated while he's hiking.
Oh, the love just oozes from you about him. I love it. It's very special and super excited. He's got a great mom.
I've always wondered like if there's any other Chihuahuas that have done as much hiking as him, because I don't think there's many.
I have never seen a Chihuahua on trail, so that was definitely a first for me, especially seeing two hiking on the trail in the wintertime. I mean, they're good hikers. I mean, I was surprised they were going at it. Mm-hmm.
When we hiked together, that was probably one of the only times I've ever carried them, when it was like 5 to 10 degrees outside and their little toes are just too small for frostbite. But otherwise, they have 4 legs. They walk the whole thing same as me. There's no, for sure. So yeah, I definitely just asked them to do their own walking. I can't do it for them.
Sure. That's amazing. I mean, really. So do you have, I know you may not be right next to you, honey, but okay, here's who's next.
So this is Reggie. This is Reginald Bonaparte Krugovsky. He is a former stray from Central Ohio. He and his brother from another mother, Maximilian Augustus Krugovsky, were both stray together, and they were evading the dog catcher for a whole year. They were bad dogs. They kept like evading the long arm of the law. And they survived in the woods for almost a whole year, eating like raw chickens and acorns. And then they got picked up by the dog catcher, and you had to take them both from the shelter. And I said, oh, okay. And now I have them both. So they're great dogs.
Oh,
Didn't want to come indoors. They're very experienced outdoor dogs. When it rains, they dig a hole. Max eats acorns. Max, the little white one, he cracks it and he spits it out. And then all the dogs like share the acorn, which makes the tent very stinky. But I let them do it still.
yeah. So how old are those two? Like, what are the ages of the dog?
I think they're a little younger than Pierre. Their gotcha day is in October. So I usually celebrate their birthday in like mid-October. But I think I'm going to turn them 6 this year.
Okay. So they're a little bit more recent to your backpacking adventures.
Yeah. When I first started backpacking, I had 3 other dogs that are all in heaven now. And they were 2 miniature pinchers and a chihuahua. And they were fine. And the 2 min pins, when I first started backpacking, were maybe 12 or 13. And they did the whole thing same as me. I'm slow.
Wow. Nice. So for somebody in the audience who may be thinking about, I'd like to take my dog out, maybe they have a chihuahua, maybe they've never taken their dog out, or they just became a dog parent, for a parent. What are some unique things that you got to think about? I know, Justin, I want you to chime in on this too, but when you bring a dog, it's a whole nother level of responsibility, right? And another level of joy too. You're taking all kinds of pictures of them. What are some of the extras you got to plan for?
So number one, I train with them a whole lot. Like all of us, dogs and people can be sedentary. And so I try to make sure that, especially when we have a big hike coming up, I was trying to do 10, 15, even 20 miles a week, leading up to asking them to do 10 to 15 miles a day. And Justin, you put in more miles than I do. You're a way more fast on a day-to-day hiker.
Yeah, I've got some with I haven't really put in really large miles with Molly, but when I had my other dog, hiked with my other dog, Sophie, we put in, her biggest day was 30 miles, during on a day hike that we went through. I mean, I built her up to that. She was able to do it. She's a German Shepherd, St. Bernard mix. She's a big dog. She's about 120 pounds right now. But I mean, she could hike. I mean, she'd hold her own gear. My biggest concern for her was she would definitely drink a lot of water. So that's one thing I had to carry a lot of was water. She usually would take about 2 days before she would start eating food very regularly on the trail. She wasn't really, I almost had to force feed her for the first day until she got out there and started getting hungry. And that happened every hike she went. It wasn't just the first one, but she would be a little troublesome to get started eating for the first couple of days, but she always enjoyed it and she loved going out. She's not able to now. She got Lyme disease a few years back, so she's got some hip issues now. So that's why I ended up getting Molly, my Australian Shepherd, and I've just been careful with her, trying to get her built up and keep her from being infected as well. So it's just, Lyme disease is an issue that all dog owners have on trail right now, and it's only getting worse.
Yeah, it looks like she froze up for a second, Justin, but I'm sure she'll come back. How old is Molly? I don't think we've really talked about that.
Molly just turned 2 years old in February.
Okay.
She's still in good age for hiking, and her breed seems to go for a long time before they need to slow down. So hopefully she'll be a trail dog for quite a few years.
Yeah, for sure. Hope so. She's a love bug. Colleen, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but we had a little, our tech side here looks like you might be frozen just for a second. Oh, she jumped off. Maybe she'll jump back on here in a second. I'm sure, Justin. We'll just keep it rolling. So you actually end up hiking with Colleen. Tell us about that. I mean, how in the world did that come about to in the middle of January or February?
Yeah, when I first announced my hike, I told anyone who wanted to join me just to let me know. And so she reached out to me and we tried to pick a date. So, and I just kept up with her to about where I'm at. And, unfortunately there was some cold weather and some snow rolled in. So I wasn't sure she was going to come out and Joy, but she came out regardless. She was interested in doing a winter backpacking trip, and she got some cold temperatures. She came out with her boyfriend, and all three of her dogs came out. And I met her in Seneca State Forest in one of the shelters up there. And we hiked from there all the way to Cass that day. And
How many miles was that?
A fun day. There was plenty of ice on trail. We were slipping and sliding on the dirt road section from Cass, and then on the Greenbrier River Trail, it was just a mess. But we had a lot of fun. All three of us out there hiking. I was surprised. All three of her dogs did pretty well. I mean, I could tell she kept a good eye on them because of the cold temperatures and all that. She had coats for them. She had holders there that she put them on her backpack on the front and back, and they were switching out. So, I mean, I could tell she was keeping a close eye on them, and they definitely were having a good time despite the cold.
So, Colleen, I know you just dropped off on Not a Big Deal. You're back. We were just talking about how you two actually connected. That was like really cold, and what that adventure ensued do with the dogs and any extra maintenance or that type of thing. Justin did a pretty good recap of that. Anything you want to say on that adventure?
Just thank menopause. I was like flashing all night. I was not cold at all. But that's definitely, I think, something I wouldn't have attempted early on with my dogs. I practice a lot of like safety drills with my dogs. I carry like a separate first aid pack for them. I've practiced being able to carry all three of them in my pack if necessary. Like every once in a while, if we're having a short day, I literally just like make us stop and do drills. Like I'll take everything out of my pack and put all three dogs and carry them for a couple 100 yards just to practice.
Sure.
We've done rattlesnake drills. We've done coyote drills, both of which are coming very handy, not in the Allegheny Trail, but more in like mid and north central PA. We have a lot of rattlesnakes and a lot of coyotes. I have run-ins with both of which, what do I want to say about that? Sucked a whole lot, and nothing bad happened. And I'm really glad that I like do weird things. I don't know if other people like do drills with their dogs, but I'm like, all right, let's pretend like there's a coyote right there. What are we going to do? Let's pretend like there's a rattlesnake. How are we going to get around? That kind of thing.
I think it's super smart. What you're saying is to get your animal. First of all, maybe you should get yourself under control if that happens as the actual human in the realm. But at the same time, our animals pick up on our vibes, right? We know that. So I think it's really brilliant what you're saying, Colleen, to practice those unpredictable situations if possible.
I think is asking, I also know just like dogs are pack animals and they will not show weakness. And so like it is very possible for a dog to have injury for quite longer than you realize. And so just, to kind of like be aware of that, check them every day. I mean, ticks. I have my guys on oral prevention. And then do you both spray your gear with permethrin? Mm-hmm. So I spray their bellies in between their little toes with permethrin as well. And that's safe for dogs. I checked with my vet. And that was the other thing. Like before we went, I had like a vet visit that was separate from the annual exam. Because I know vets are busy, right? And they have a lot to do. So separate from their annual exam, I made a visit for all three dogs. And we just sat down and I was like, look, me and my dogs are going to walk a couple 100 miles. What do you think? And the vet was like, I think you're nuts. But they were cleared medically. For small dogs, I will say I have tried very hard. I have lit a lot of money on fire. I have not found a single backpack that works for my dogs. I think the recommendation is that they'll have like 20% of their body weight. And so like I reach out to different backpack dog companies and they're like, oh, well, your small dogs only carry 20% of their weight. And I'm like, yeah, that's 2 pounds that my ass is carrying, but I'm carrying less of. And I've tried to DIY it like on top of a couple of harnesses and they kept getting sores. So I've just let the small boys not carry anything. And I have Reggie. I don't carry, another thing I'm a little nervous about is bears, which I think is a thing that I'm way too nervous about and is actually fine. but I get nervous about Reggie carrying food because I think he's going to be like making food smells everywhere. So actually, I have Reggie carry water on his packs. I got him a backpack that has like water reservoirs that fit right in it. It's from Roughwear.
Nice.
It's also easier to balance because then like you know exactly how much is in each. So his is kind of, you know, like you always have like an extra liter no matter what. Reggie's water is kind of my like emergency water.
Okay. Sure. And then just to speak to the Allegheny Trail for a second, in the state of West Virginia, regarding bears, you're allowed to hunt with dogs like North Carolina. And so a lot of times bears actually associate that with a possible chase coming. So clearly bears are unpredictable. I don't ever want to say that they're not, but I would, just like to throw out there, that's something in our state. A lot of people only see the bend of a bear running away or something on trail because, again, human dog interaction, it's a little bit more of a threat. I don't know if you've had any sightings of bears in your, how many miles are you up to now?
251.
Nice job.
Lots of bear poo, 0 bears. And I do things every couple miles or so. I will sing, which will clear out. I am a terrible singer. I do apologize if anyone's ever heard me. Like sing a song really loud, or I'll like click my poles together, or I just yell really loud, like I have the handsomest dogs in the whole world. Because if it's around for 100 miles, and you can just yell really like dorky things, like affirmations, really loud. Kind of let everybody know. I don't want to see, and I'm very aware that I am in the bear's home. I'm in the deer's home. And I think they want as little to do with me as I want, with respect in my heart, right? Like this is their home. So I'm trying to give them the opportunity to like clear out for a second. I don't want anyone to go away. Like, we're all sharing the woods, but I haven't had a problem. And I think it was something I was extra triple over prepared for. I hike down the trail. I hang my food really high in the trees. I don't use scented chapstick. I think this is all very extra, and I sleep really well.
That's important. That was going to be one of my questions, even for Justin. I don't hike with a dog, right? So I'm just saying, when you do that, not only the food, not only the water, not only the safety kits, that type of stuff, but their extra clothing, seasonally they may need that. But the sleeping, how is that in your tent? Tell me what that looks like. Convey that to our listeners and viewers.
I think it's a very personal thing. My dogs insist on sleeping zipped inside the sleeping bag 100% of the time, all the time. So I have like a couple adaptations on my sleeping bag. Number one, a quilt does not work because when I roll over, my booty scoots them out the side of the quilt. And then they fall out and they have to walk around and they have to get back under and nobody sleeps. Unfortunately, quilts do not work for us. But I have a sleeping bag from Big Agnes that has like your sleeping pad like slides on the bottom. So it's still like as lightweight as a quilt, but it doesn't have the holes in the side for my booty to kick the dog out. And then it unzips from the top and the bottom. Reginald will typically sleep in my side like a big spoon. Reggie sleeps, Pierre, the tiniest, sleeps behind my knees. And then Max, the little white one, sleeps with his head poking out the bottom. So I have like a men's extra large, extra wide sleeping pad to accommodate the 4 of us. And again, my sleeping bag is like a large human's bag. And that's just extra weight that I carry. When these people are like, oh, I'm extra triple light. I'm like, I don't get to carry you know what I mean? It's something that I've just trained for and cut weight in other ways.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's a great visual. Justin, I'm going to get you in on this. How do you and Molly sleep?
Well, I'll wake up with her on my top of my chest half the time. I have a spot for her. I have her little pad sitting beside me in my tent that she can lay on. But that doesn't usually last long. I'll wake up with her sleeping on top of me with the 45-pound dog on top of my chest. So that's usually what ends up happening. She during the cold nights, cause I slept with her, couple nights where I got down into the teens. She's got her jacket that she wears, but that definitely wasn't enough just for her. So she was ready to cuddle underneath my jacket or my quilt there. So I don't usually move all that much when I'm on my sleeping pad, because if I roll, I slide right off anyways. But she'll usually slip right underneath that blanket, and she'd be right underneath me, or I'll wake up and I'll be laying on her head or something like that on my heads. So she usually, she don't move much. Once she's in place, she's really good. But if it's cold, if it's warm enough for her to sleep outside the quilt, then I usually wake up with her on top.
Okay. So forgive me, but bathroom breaks with the dogs in the middle of the night, is that a thing?
Unless she wakes me up, then I'll send her out. But that doesn't usually happen very often for mine. But I can imagine having 3 dogs in the middle of the night with 12 was tiny little bladders.
They hold it. I will not restrict their water through the day. I'm very cautious to make sure, we stop and drink a lot of water. But before bed, I will not give them any extra, because I am disinterested in nighttime owls, hunting animals. Like, I could smell the animals out hunting, and they would 100% hunt a chihuahua. So I'll pee at night. I can think of, like, on 2 fingers the time that they woke me up in the middle of the night to pee. They figure it out. And we all just, I just don't give them after dinner. I also turn in very early. I tend to like to get to my campsite by between 4 and 5. And I'm usually like sitting by the side of the tent with the dogs in the tent by like 5 or 6 as the sun goes down, and just kind of like reading a novel or meditating or whatever. So we do like 1 bathroom break, like as the sun's going down, and I am zipped in by the time the sun is down, and we're done until the sun comes up.
Cool. I love these tips. I'm thinking about friends, dogs. I'm thinking about conversations with people that are like, oh, I'd love to go, not just do the day hike type thing and try it. And so I'm excited for them to hear some of these great tips y'all are sharing and experiences, right? So Colleen, you've got 250, I'm sorry, 251.
Parking lot of 251. So that's where I stopped.
Nice. So, what sections have you done? Let's talk a little bit about what, if you've done section 1, 2, 3, 4, where these, where the 4-pack, I'll call you and the 3 dogs, where the 4-packs already been.
Yeah. So we started at mile 0. Reggie did injure his paw on my first day. After like 2 years of preparations, Reggie cut his paw on the first day. And I was like, all right. And again, inhale, exhale. I picked him up. I carried him. I got him to a safe place. We called Jim Meckley. We hung out with Jim. I had my partner and my college roommate actually drove my car down to me. And we ended up like doing day hikes in small sections until Reggie's foot got better. And then we got back on the trail at Davis. So I didn't do like 100% of like the first, I think 60 to 70 miles. We ended up doing a section. We like kind of sideswiped a section in a canoe, like just until his foot got better. And then we got back on. I thought about like, do I stay where I am or keep going? I had a plan set in place early with a bunch of 0 days. Like the longest we went was 7 days, but more commonly I was going every 4 to 5 with a 0 day. Again, just to make sure that I wasn't pushing them harder than I had realized. And I had a bunch of like cabins set up and packages waiting. And so I just kept going.
Okay. And so what I'm hearing is, on those 0 days, were you on trail, or you did end up at like a state park cabin? Or tell us about what those 0 days look like.
Yeah. The first one I had was in Rollsburg. There's an Airbnb in Rollsburg with a very nice lady, a woman whose name I'm forgetting, but it was $40. Super nice. It had a shower. It had a kitchen. It was great. And so I had just
pets were pet friendly.
Yeah, she let me have dogs. Her policies too. Most people's policies too. And I've gotten very comfortable saying, I understand your policy. I really respect your policy. My 3 dogs together don't weigh more than 60 pounds. Like, And and so I have now, like, especially with Airbnb, I've stayed at so many of them and I leave it really clean. So they've left me reviews, and specifically they're like, it's fine. Her 3 dogs are fine.
Right.
So, I would typically, again, one of the ways I cut weight, and this might be like way TMI, but I don't care. I just don't change my clothes for 4 days at a time. I just wear the same clothes on the outside. I change my underwear like I'm a gynecologist, but I don't change my outside clothes. And so I would just have like a new set of clothes and food, and also things like nail clippers. So I could like cut my nails, and then I would just send it back in the mail.
Nice.
So I had like an Airbnb there. I had a small cabin in Davis. I stayed at a state park. Justin, what was the state park that we camped at? When I met
State Forest.
Yeah, I stayed at one of theirs, which does not have a shower, but it was totally fine. It also doesn't have electricity. So there's no shower, no electricity, but it was just like a day to rest. Again, like change our socks, check the dogs. It was actually very restful. One day I met my oldest and best friend lives in Washington, D.C., and she drove up and met me at Watauga State Park, and we just did car camping. So I just kind of stayed right there in Watauga, but she brought food, adult beverages, clothes, also food. Like where you just can't stop eating.
Yeah.
I was like, how much food do you want? I was like, pretend like it's 4 people. And so we hung there for 2 nights. And then she walked the trail the next day with me before we went back.
So like, I'm hearing, you're hiking, you're backpacking, your 4-pack. It sounds so enjoyable. It sounds like it's really chill. Like you take your time, you take in nature, you're aware of your own nature, right? As well as the dogs. Sounds like you got a lot of rejuvenation out of this journey thus far.
Really did. Again, I am a very solid 2.5 mile metronome. Like that's 2.5 miles an hour is my max. Except for one 17-mile day, I did 10, 12, maybe 15 miles a day. But like I get up with the sun, I make a cup of tea, I have breakfast, I make a second cup of tea and read a novel, or meditate, or just sit there and listen to the trees. Before we start walking, I stop for lunch. I take off my socks. I take off my shoes. I sit on my butt. We have a full union mandated hour for lunch. And me and the dogs all eat. And again, I get to my campsite early and I tuck in early. I am very slow. I just like to look. I don't want to have to be in a hustle. I don't want to have to be in a rush.
It isn't that great and refreshing to hear. I mean, most people are like, yeah, I'm cranking out this, and yeah, I'm going for this many miles. And it's great to hear that the way that you do it, like everybody says, hike your hike, right, Justin? I know you've told me about that. I know one of the board members of the Allegheny Trail, Newt, has mentioned that to me. At first, it didn't make sense. I'm like, what? Like, we're all out here hiking together. What do you mean your own hike? This is a wonderful example of Colleen and the 4-pack hiking their own hike. Justin, what are you thinking? I know you had some lightning over there. What's going on?
That was actually my lights going out. There's a thunderstorm going on right now. But yeah, that's true. I mean, I've slowed down a lot as I've been hiking, because I used to get up 4 o'clock in the morning, pack up my tent at dark, and night hike for the first couple hours. And I'd get to camp around 6, 7 o'clock and set up my tent and go straight to bed. And those would be usually 20+ mile days. But I mean, that's what I enjoy doing at that time. But now I'll enjoy getting up around sunrise, packing up, and just walking until I'll still walk until about sunrise or sunset. But I mean, I'm not in any rush or push 20-mile days lately. I mean, I'm happy doing 12 to 16 miles a day for me. So that's my comfort level right now. But I enjoy pushing out those long days, just seeing what I can do. I'll push myself for how far I can go in a day and how light I can go. So it's just seeing what you can push yourself to. Now I can just relax and just enjoy it.
I've had the privilege of dropping Justin off at probably 5 degrees in the morning. Um, and having him hike to you, Colleen, and then being like, oh man, he hasn't checked in yet. I'm getting nervous. Oh man, he hasn't checked in yet. Well, he's with Colleen and I'm good. You know, she can reach out if she has to. I'm like, oh man, he hasn't checked in yet. But, and then hearing about that 16-mile day in that weather with the dogs and, your partner, just, those are some pretty cool stories. Gotta tell you. And I appreciate what y'all are doing. Not just for yourselves, but both your animals too, right? I applaud your commitment to get out and enjoy nature in all 4 seasons, y'all. I think that's awesome. And that is Pierre.
Pierre.
He's such a sweetie. Oh my goodness. He is such a sweetie. So one of the other things I know, Colleen, you're going to end up qualifying for is our 50 on 50 challenge. And so last episode, I kind of talked a little bit about one of these cool koozies we got. And, you have how many miles left exactly to finish to get this? Because I know you're right around the corner.
We're 311 minus 251 is 60 something.
Yeah. You just got to hike 50 miles. You got to volunteer 50 hours or do a combo. And so you're well on your way. And in May, right, you're going to jump out there. And there's a possibility I may be able to join you, which I'm stoked about because I'm at the 101. I'm at the 102 mark right now myself. Just kind of a section day hiking right now until I get a chance to get in the season, get a few days out on trail. But may catch up with you down there in section 3 a little bit, section 4. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also thinking about, as I'm hearing you talk, you know, what are some of the highlights of our trail? What are some of the things you really are learning to take away and what keeps you coming?
Oh man. My number one favorite thing, I would say 2 things. Number 1, I saw very few other people. I saw 2 other people on the trail the entire time, which was startling. I thought I was going to see more, and then it kind of became really peaceful. I saw Marissa, which, you know, I'm like, oh my God, how cool, right? And then I came across a dude who had been hiking full time since I think around 2011, 2012. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Hi. And it was, oh God. There's like the gas station and there's like the shelter right before the gas station. This is not I'm not helping at all. Like on the side of
Huntersville, Marlin Mountain Shelter.
I think it's the Marlin Mountain Shelter that I came across him. And it's funny, when I sign the trail register, I don't write, hi, my name is Colleen, I'm a lady alone, right? Not that, like, just trust people. But I just sign it as Colleen, Reggie, Max, and Pierre and kind of like let it sit. So he thought we were a group of 4. And he thought that he was going to pass us. And then he had gotten to the shelter before me. And I got to the shelter and he was so nice. He's like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I'll leave. It's okay. And I was like, we are good. Like, it is okay. Like, you seem very nice. But he was just an interesting person to me, like someone who's lived more or less outdoors for a decade.
I would say.
He's from Northwestern PA. I tried really hard. I was like, so this is my first big trip. Do you have any advice? And he's like, again, no, you do you. And I was like, no, but really. And I was like, I'm asking you to mansplain me a thing. Like, I want you to. And he's like, his only advice was I should change my socks halfway through the day, which I have done ever since and have, I believe, saved a few toenails.
Wow. I love that tip. Justin, do you do that? Have you heard that?
I don't. I just all day long, water, whatever, and dry out, switch out at night or so for dry pair, and then right back on the next day, wet or cold, whatever. I don't really have trouble with blisters or anything like that, so I'm lucky there. So far I've done just about whatever and made it through it without any trouble.
Awesome. Well, guys, I know we're pushing the time here a little bit, but I got a couple more questions if it's okay with y'all. Colleen, talk to me about what the trails meant to you and that significance with your body art.
Yeah. So I gave myself a whole year. I think you can see it. This is
Gorgeous.
like first we have actually a week like on Monday coming up, I'll be getting another like 6-hour session. But I gave myself a whole year to reflect before I let myself get a tattoo about it. Because I really wanted some perspective on just like how I felt. You know, just today, there's like a woman who I work with who I've known for 10 years. And when I mentioned that I had like a thing to do today, she was like, you hike. I get that. Like, I don't know if like people don't think I hike or like I wear too much eyeliner that I wouldn't hike. I don't know. I just think that for me, it was really empowering to know like I can rely on myself. I can do this myself. It was really nice to step away from electricity and other people. I wasn't worried that I was going to miss running water. I did not miss running water. I was fine. I really didn't miss other people, if you want to know the whole truth. I mean, I missed like a couple people who I love very much, but I didn't miss like grocery shopping. You know,
Didn't miss laundry or dishes.
It's so relaxing. Like literally my whole job is to just walk. And I know how so lucky I am to do that. So to me, it was just a time to relax, reset, recharge, kind of get one with nature. My number one favorite thing is when you're like on the top of a ridgeline and you're just walking for miles and miles and you look to the left and you look to the right and there is just like one mountain on each side. I don't know about you, Justin, but I talk to the other mountains. Like I think like, well, I'm this mountain and those are my other 2 mountain friends and we're just 3 mountains hanging up here. I don't know. I can't believe I just said that out loud, but that's okay. That's what happens when you're alone in the woods for a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll usually just, as I'm going out, I'll just kind of space out and just, before I know it, the day's over. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's just relaxing, just meditative as you're walking through, going through there. I mean, it's just, I can look out there and hours have passed and it doesn't feel like hardly been 5 minutes. I mean, it's definitely helped, especially because I mean, I've noticed I can do that. Like if I'm out there doing trail work, using a weed eater with a brush blade on it for miles on end, that gets pretty repetitive quick, but somehow I can just kind of turn it off for a little bit and just kind of space out for a little bit without cutting my leg off at the same time. Yeah, I mean, I noticed that I don't know, just time seems to go so much quicker when I'm doing something repetitive. I don't know. I mean, it feels kind of relaxing to me, whatever I'm doing. I enjoy it.
Yeah, there's so much
looking out at the views is great at the same time, but I mean, I don't know. Just something about just being able to turn off your brain and just keep on walking. It's nice.
Absolutely. And I can relate to both of you on that. There's so much stimuli, whether it's colors and sounds or, losing a little bit of the trail, what's all over that ridge or what's like, wow, I just got into this spot. Look how beautiful it is down that tunnel of moss or, nature's invitation is always waiting. It's just a matter of us to take her up on it. So we'll round it out here with a couple last minute things. And again, thank you both for making sound tonight. But when we think of the Allegheny Trail, we're turning 50 this year. There's a big celebration in September, Colleen. I think you're going to be attending that. When you think Allegheny Trail community, the volunteers, is there anything that speaks to you about our community that you'd like to consider?
I have been so surprised at how nice everyone's been. I mean, when I was planning this, I just reached out to Justin and Jeff had a meeting just like this with me. And I sent them my trail plan. They gave me advice. I felt really cared for. I didn't really feel like I didn't see anybody else in the trail, but I felt like I really didn't feel like a bad thing was going to happen. I felt like if anything happened, I have all these people, their names to reach out to. I was able to call Jim Meckley. It felt like real personal. There's not thousands and thousands of people, and that is exactly what I wanted. I think it's a really special trail, and I found it by accident. I was thinking, everyone thinks about the Appalachian Trail, and then I read about it, and I was like, absolutely. Like, I don't want to I don't need like trail friends. You know what I mean? I think it's just for a different time in someone's life and that kind of thing. So I literally Googled like other long trails, and there's a Wikipedia of all the long trails in the US, and the Allegheny Trail is on the top because it begins with A. And I was like, well, I live right there and I have about 28 days. That's 311 miles. I was like, perfect. That's what we're doing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, by chance. It's great how that worked out.
Totally. And like the way, Justin and I've had an opportunity to work and do some of this exactly with some other hikers, section hikers, through hikers. And I know there's more coming down the line. It's amazing how much we're growing right now. I think we're still small enough to allow people to feel that sense of community, right? That West Virginia loves to give, and make people feel like family. They say tramily, your trail family now. It's just been so great to get to know you, Colleen. I've enjoyed you being on this. It's been a great podcast, and we're just appreciative. And we look forward to seeing you. I personally do on trail, but again, in that 50th in September, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th. And for those of you listening that want to check it out, you can go to hikethealleghenytrail.org and find out more information there. But I'll let Justin take us out tonight and say goodbye. But here we go.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you, Colleen. I mean, that's interesting here about especially hiking with your dogs and all that. And I was glad to be able to meet up with you here on the trail while I was doing my through hike. I mean, that was definitely a I can't even say it, memorable hike that day. I mean, with all the cold and ice that we had, and I was glad to have somebody else there with me on that trip. That was great. But yeah, looking forward to having you complete the last bit of your hike. Hopefully Nicole can go out there with you, and hopefully we'll see you at the 50th.
Yes, I will see you so soon. It's coming up. I'm excited.
Yeah, before you know it.
All right, team, we're going to hit the highway here. Happy hiking until the next time. Thank you.